admin used a shady privacy formula to scramble the data and miscounted 14 states. It included illegal immigrants and handed Democrats extra seats. Americans deserve a fair account. Yep. So this is what they do. In addition to the redistricting, in addition to shit like this, where they're like, that's the whole. You want to know why they want illegal immigrants? They want illegal immigrants because if everything was fair as it should be in this country, if everything was ran the way the founding fathers intended it, they would win very little elections. They need to have the odds stacked in their favor. They need to have the media on their side to lie and run cover for them. They need to have these corrupt practices of muddying the waters when it comes to counting who is and who isn't a citizen. They need all this stuff because they can't win on their ideology alone. I mean, you see how these people argue. They can't win on their ideology alone.
Yeah, and the terrifying thing for them is that, and they're never going to admit this, the terrifying thing for them is that if these radical communists, let's say Thanos, they're gone, right? Mm-hmm. Democrats would still win some elections, but the Democrats' policies would look a whole lot like Trump's. Mm-hmm. And actual right-wing, much further right-wing policies would also be winning. If we weren't being lied to, if we weren't having illegals manipulating. We were 40% in California red without removing all the illegals. So we're like 65% easy red if you just scratch off the illegals from the American voting roll.
I started speaking out against the census in 2012 because I was living in a different state and I was getting ready to move back and they were doing the census. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be living here. I'm not a resident. And they're like, no, you're physically in the state. So we need to count you. And I said, no, you don't. And I started having an issue with that because I was always an Alaskan resident and never changed my residency. And yet they were still trying to count me for the Missouri census because they wanted that extra head count. And I told them, I was like, isn't that fraudulent? I was like, I'm not a citizen. I'm not even going to be here. I'm leaving in like 2 days, literally. Like, you come back here in 2 days and I won't be here. So no, you're not going to count me. And they were like, well, it's perjury against the federal government if you don't. And I'm like, again, what you're doing is perjury because I'm not a legal citizen in Missouri and yet you're pushing for it. And one of the things on there was, are you a legal citizen? Yes or no? And they didn't care if you were a legal citizen or not because they wanted the body count. They just wanted numbers.
When you're really just a visitor at that time.
Yeah. It didn't matter if you were legally here in the state or legally here in the United States or in that state. They didn't care. They just wanted to get the body count so they could get more people for that county.
Let me sorry, I didn't have the thing up for people to see, but this thing our sergeant said, which is something Nora will be able to go on a rant about. What switched was LBJ signing the Welfare Act. Yes, that was part of what made the party's quote switch. Is it was part of the illusion of the Democrat Party going, oh, we've wronged you, now we're going to make things right. But really, it was just, we're going to make you debt slaves. I mean, growing up with the early '90s rap, like there's this what was this one? There was this one song. It wasn't in the early '90s, but it someone from the '90s. It's like they call the hood a trap because the hood is just that. It's a trap. Like they make it seem like they gave them like some sort of like leg up, but all they've done is trap them. It's the welfare trap. That's all they've done.
Yeah,
is the welfare trap. So they with their friends in the media, with yellow journalism and all that shit, they've made it seem like they are the saviors of these marginalized communities, but all they're doing to these marginalized communities is making them a new form of slaves.
More marginalized.
And whenever they step out of line, whenever they start hooting and hollering and cooning it up, they are quick to bury them. They're quick to bury them, and so you're betraying your own kind. It's always rich when you hear those yuppie white liberals telling other people that they're betraying their own kind. These people who push these things, these people who have their friends in the media have never seen a day of struggle in their life, and they're going to go and talk about these issues that they don't have a clue on, and they're going to continue to manipulate these communities.
They're so oppressed.
When you talk about like the black crime rate, like a lot of that is And I said it's because of these Democrat policies. They've completely put them in this pincer, and the media has manipulated them to believe that now they are owed. They are owed these things, and it's the white man's fault. So they've raised generations of people who are in these poor areas that feel like they have no other way to rise up other than taking from the person who has wronged them, the white man. And these are the conditions that Democrat policies have fostered for these people.
Yeah.
And it's a total
and
disaster.
You go just before that, or like right around that, like just before the point where, you know, they're broken in ghettos, basically, right? And you have the government flooding the streets with cocaine that they taught people to cook into crack, that the president went on national TV and said, we have this crack epidemic. It gets you higher for longer, and it's cheaper, and you need less of it. And that's our president on there saying, be careful of this new drug that's just better in every way for every reason that you go to cocaine for, which is basically the way he advertised it. And then you get the men hooked on these drugs. You teach the women that oh, well, your man's hooked on drugs. You should probably sign up for all of these social welfare programs because you need the money, right? And then you teach the women that if they let the man come back into the house to try and get his shit together, that they lose that check. So you keep the man out. And what do the men learn from that? The men learn, well, I guess the way that I get by is by having 18 baby mamas and they're all on welfare and I just couch surf.
Yep.
And then you got kids that are raised, like I was just watching a video this morning, a 15-year-old kid grabs a cop and body slams him when he's trying to break up a fight at a school. This kid's 15 years old, but he's 6'5", and he manhandled that cop. And then he got arrested, right? While he's getting arrested, he's like, you guys have to take my coat off. It's hot. And he's crying. And his mom gets called in because he's 15. And they're like, your son grabbed me around the neck and pulled me off while I was doing my job. He's being arrested for assaulting an officer. And then he's being also charged with resisting arrest with violence. And she goes, this school's just as racist as it was when I was here. And she walks out of the office and leaves her son sitting there with the cop. Doesn't even tell him bye. Doesn't say, hey, I love you. I'll call you tomorrow. I'll get your bail. None of it.
Well, here's another story relating to all the stuff that we're talking about with Democrats being ridiculous. Here's a story that Bush posted in my Discord. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows addresses election security after ballots found in Amazon packages. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows, I don't know if I'm saying it right, spoke about Maine's absentee voting process after Newborough woman claimed she found hundreds of ballots in Amazon packages she received last week. Unbelievable. And you know, there's the only time there's ever any problem with elections is when the Democrats lose. There's never any issues when they win, only when they lose. I mean, they literally... the Marxists are basically like you play video games with your friend growing up, and every time he loses, he's got an excuse. Every time he's on the ropes, he tries to do something to throw you off your game to get that advantage. It's pro wrestling. They're the heels. They are the heels. They do all the heelish tactics. They will point the finger at you when you do something slightly wrong, and then the ref has their back turned, and they go and get the championship belt. And when the ref is busy trying to handle the situation, they beat you over the head with the fucking belt, and then they throw it away and be like, I guess I won fair and square. And then the refs are mentally retarded, just like apparently, you know, a lot of the media is, or some of the media, and some of the people who are on like a local level that are not as indoctrinated and bought out, and they just ignore it all. And how does this happen? How does the population continue to not see this? I think it's so obvious, but I'm also biased because I'm in the zeitgeist. So I don't know what else can be done for people to see this. So my final point that I was going to say before I showed the Mayor Johnson video is I spoke to Tyler last night, and I'm just like, you know, the pendulum swings, and we have certain key moments in which we can get in there and stop it from swinging so hard. But when we miss our moment, I don't know what we can do to stop it from swinging, and it makes me wonder if it is necessary to now have a swing towards right authoritarian and just hope that the next time the pendulum comes swinging this way, that we have enough people that are awake and alert, and hope now that we have the internet during this next generation of pendulum swinging, that people will be able to identify these moments sooner and stop it from being so dramatic when it swings the next time. Because I don't know what else to do at this point. I don't know what else to do, save for a, French Revolution style, which I don't think anybody wants because it didn't work for them.
Well, the communists want to pretend to do that and then just overthrow. But yeah, I like your analogy there with the pendulum. So let me play with it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If you just think about an actual pendulum, right? It's damn near impossible for a meaningfully sized pendulum to just stop it. You can't. Like, if you wait until it swings all the way to one side and then you prop it up before it starts turning around, okay, sure. But now you're keeping it on one extreme, right? But if it's starting to swing back towards the center, you're not going to stop it. What you can do is slow the momentum so that it doesn't swing as far. And then if you keep slowing the momentum, eventually you can get it to stop, right?
Yeah.
But you can't just outright stop it. I think that, like, this is why it was written into our Constitution that our leaders are supposed to be holding each other accountable. Like, you're supposed to be, like, at the top, you're checked out. If we don't like you, we vote you out. If we really don't like you, we use other means. But everybody underneath you, you're supposed to make sure that they respect the Constitution and they actually uphold the values represented and the laws written inside of it as a function of your office.
And that threat
that
threat from the people of a potential uprising was supposed to be one of those things that kept politicians in check. Not that we need to have an uprising to keep our politicians in check, just the mere threat that people are getting frustrated and are like, that's it, enough is enough. But now the media has made it seem like if you have that level of organization, you're a terrorist.
And that's why they don't want you reading about like Indonesia and Nepal, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, so update on the Nepal story. There's been a correction. We were originally told